Welcome to Pastor's Chat today. Well, we're starting a new psalm, Psalm 55. Now, interesting, this is one of the four maskil psalms called a maskil of David or a contemplation of David, a psalm that he tells and shares with us some pain or difficulty that he has in his life, and he is trying to encourage others to trust in the Lord. Matter of fact, probably I would call this psalm, if you go down to verse 22, cast your burden upon the Lord, and he shall sustain you. He shall never permit the righteous to be moved. Cast your burden upon the Lord. One of my favorite phrases in the book of Psalms. We're reminded, come to the Lord when you are feeling the difficulty of life and you're overwhelmed with problems. And you see this in this psalm. This is a psalm that David no doubt wrote when he was fleeing from Absalom. His son had brought a revolt against the people, against his own father David. He had gotten Ahithophel, David's friend and counselor, to side with him in this revolt. And the city was in a turmoil in Jerusalem. Some were for David, some were for Absalom. And it was a place of confusion and corruption. And you see all that in this psalm come out as David looks at it. And he's in the midst of fleeing at the time that he's writing this psalm from the city of Jerusalem, his beloved city. And he knew that he was in terrible, difficult time. So what do you do when you're overwhelmed with trouble? Well, this psalm gives us some hints what David did and how to help us. Now, first thing David did, we'll notice, is that he turned to himself. He looked within. And boy, he was hurting because of all the corruption of his own heart. And he knew that what was going on had a connection to his sin years earlier with Bathsheba and Uriah. And he had ignored his son Absalom, and he had paid the price now as Absalom turns against him. And he writes in verse 1, give ear to my prayer, O God, and do not hide yourself from my supplication. Attend to me and hear me. I am restless in my complaint and moan noisily. Oh, because of the voice of the enemy, because of the oppression of the wicked, for they bring down trouble upon me, and in wrath they hate me. My heart is severely pained within me, and the terrors of death have fallen upon me. Fearfulness and trembling have come upon me, and horror has overwhelmed me. So in these first verses, like David always did, he did cry out to God, please hear my prayer, hear my supplication, give ear. And you could imagine he's thinking, maybe God's turning a deaf ear to me. I am paying for all my sins. I'm paying for my past. I'm paying for what I've done in my life. And now God is letting it all come out on me. So God, hear me. Please help me. Oh, we feel that way. Don't you feel that way often as you deal with the problems of life and know many of them are the result of your own mistakes, your own sins, your own failures in your life with your family, your friends, your just yourself. And so you cry out to God. That's what you should do. And you can see David. And then he says in verse 6, oh, that I had wings like a dove. I would fly away and be at rest. Indeed, I would wander far off and remain in the wilderness, Selah. I would hasten my escape from the windy storm and tempest. So David says, what I want to do is run away. I want to run away. How can I get out of this? Is the question many of us ask when we face trouble. How can I get out of this? And maybe as believers, what we could and should pray is, what can I get out of this? What is God doing in my life? What is he trying to teach me? What can I learn from this lesson in life? And so David, as you read the previous Psalms, Dog turned against him, the Zephites turned against him, and he has been betrayed. And that was earlier in his life. Now, these are later years when Absalom turns against him, but there are lessons still David can learn. And so no matter where we're at in life, God has some lessons for us to learn. Let's give ear to his voice as we ask him to hear our voice. Well, God bless you as you study and read this psalm with me, and you have a wonderful, wonderful day.